For most of my life, I was the easy one. The responsible one. The sister who stayed quiet so nobody would have to deal with messy feelings at the dinner table. I smiled when I wanted to scream. I forgave when I wanted to walk away. I made excuses for people who never protected me. But 3 months ago, at my mother's birthday party, I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror and felt something inside me snap into place. Not anger exactly. More like clarity. Downstairs, I could still hear the party. Music, plates clinking, the normal noise of family pretending everything is fine. And cutting through it all was my sister Brittany's laugh. That laugh she uses when she is flirting. High and sweet and a little breathy, like she is letting a man in on a secret. I knew that laugh because I had heard it aimed at too many men who were supposed to be mine. My mascara was streaked because I had just caught her in the garage with Mark. Mark, who I had been dating for 6 months. Mark, who told me a few weeks earlier that he was falling for me. Mark, who I thought was different. He was leaning back like he was trying to look innocent, but he was not pulling away. Brittany was pressed close to him between my dad's workbench and his vintage Mustang, one hand on Mark's chest like she owned the space between them. It looked so familiar I almost laughed, because it was like watching the same scene on repeat. So I splashed cold water on my face, stared at my reflection, and made a decision I should have made years ago. If my family refused to see what Brittany was doing, I would make them see it. But to understand why I went that far, you need to know how we got here. Brittany is 2 years younger than me. Growing up, everyone called her the pretty one. Not in a quiet way either. People said it openly, like it was a fact everyone should agree on. She had blonde hair that looked naturally perfect, green eyes, and that effortless body that some people seem to get for free. She could eat whatever she wanted and still look like she stepped out of a magazine. I was different. I got my dad's darker features. I also got the kind of stress eating that comes with trying to be the calm one in a family where calm is basically a job. But the comparisons were not even the worst part. The worst part was watching Brittany use her looks like a weapon and watching everyone around us pretend it was normal. The first time it happened, I was 19. His name was Connor, and he was my first real boyfriend. We had been together almost a year. I thought we were solid. I thought we were building something. One day, I came home early from my shift at the campus library. I was tired, and I was actually excited because I was planning to tell Connor that I loved him. I walked into my dorm room, and there they were. In my bed. Connor went pale. Brittany started crying right away, like tears could clean up everything. She said she was drunk. She said Connor came on to her. She said she did not know what she was doing. Connor did not defend me. He did not even try. He grabbed his clothes and left like I was a problem he could run away from. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed after, feeling like my whole body had turned hollow. And then my parents stepped in, not to protect me, but to protect the idea of family. My mother told me Brittany was my sister, and family is forever. She said boys come and go. She told me to forgive Brittany because that was what good sisters did. So I did. Or at least I pretended to. And then it happened again. At 21 it was Daniel. At 23 it was Josh. At 24 it was Ryan. Different men, same pattern. It always started the same way. Brittany would act sweet and innocent. She would laugh too hard at their jokes. She would touch their arm when she talked. She would make them feel chosen. Then she would create a moment where she could be alone with them. A walk to the kitchen. A quick help with something in the garage. A sudden excuse to show them something on her phone. And then everything would fall apart. Each time, there was an explanation that made it sound like an accident. Brittany was lonely. Brittany had been drinking. Brittany did not mean it. Brittany was just being friendly and the guy misunderstood. But I knew it was not an accident, because the same thing does not happen by accident 4 times. After Ryan, I stopped telling Brittany when I was dating someone. I tried to keep my relationships away from family events. I tried to keep my life private. It did not work. She always found out. And here is what hurts the most to admit. Every single man fell for it. Men who looked me in the eye and told me they cared. Men who said they wanted a future. Men who told me I was special. One night of Brittany's attention, and suddenly I was not enough. By 26, I stopped dating completely. I told people I was focusing on my career. And that part was true too. I work in marketing at a tech company. Good money, long hours, plenty of reasons to stay busy. But the real reason I stopped dating was simple. I could not stand the cycle anymore. I could not keep bringing my heart to the same place just to watch it get crushed. Then Brittany got married. His name was Trevor, and honestly I felt bad for him from the beginning. He was a quiet, kind guy. Slightly nerdy, worked in IT. He looked at Brittany like he could not believe she picked him. Like he had won something impossible. For a moment, I thought maybe marriage would change her. Maybe having someone committed to her would calm whatever hunger lived inside her. It did not. They lasted 3 years. The divorce was brutal. During their marriage, Trevor got promoted. He started making real money. He bought them a house in a nice neighborhood. He was proud of it. He wanted stability. He wanted a future. Brittany got bored. She started sleeping with his boss. And his boss was married with 2 kids. When Trevor found out, it shattered him. I saw him in a coffee shop about a month after Brittany moved out. He looked older. Like the stress had pulled years out of him in a few weeks. His shoulders were slumped, and his eyes had that empty look people get when they cannot understand why someone they love chose to hurt them. The divorce turned nasty fast. Brittany demanded half of everything. She wanted the house even though Trevor had paid the down payment before they married. She wanted alimony. She wanted his retirement. Trevor hired a lawyer. A really good one. I was not involved in most of it because Brittany cut me off during the divorce. She was angry that I would not automatically pick her side. She wanted me to tell Trevor he was being cruel for fighting back. She wanted me to play the loyal sister role again. I did not. 6 months before my mother's birthday party, the divorce finally ended. Trevor kept the house. Brittany got some money, but not what she thought she deserved. So she moved back in with our parents. And that is when she started acting like the old Brittany again. The Brittany who needed to win, who needed attention, who needed to take. Around that time, I met Mark at a work conference. Mark was charming and funny. He was successful. He worked as a consultant and traveled often, and really that fit my life because I like my space. I like quiet. I like not feeling smothered. We took things slow. It felt adult. It felt healthy. I did not bring him around my family for 4 months. I told myself I was being careful. I told myself I was protecting what we had. I also told myself maybe Brittany was too busy rebuilding her life after the divorce to mess with mine. Then my mom guilt me into bringing him to her birthday party. She told me she hated seeing me come to family events alone. She said they wanted to meet him. She said they wanted to see me happy. I should have listened to my gut. I should have made up an excuse. I should have protected myself. Instead, I walked Mark straight into the lion's den. Brittany was already there, looking perfect in a tight dress that probably cost more than my rent. The second she saw Mark, her eyes lit up like she had just found a new toy. I stayed close to him at first. I hovered. I watched Brittany like I was watching a storm cloud forming. But family events are chaos. Dad needed help with the grill. Mom wanted something in the kitchen. Someone needed more ice. Someone wanted me to say hello to a cousin I barely knew. In the middle of all that, I lost track of Mark. And then I found him in the garage with Brittany. I did not confront them loudly. I did not cause a scene. I stood in the doorway and watched until Brittany noticed me. She immediately switched to panic and innocence, like she always did. Mark started talking too fast. Brittany started acting offended that I could even think something was happening. I told Mark to leave. I locked myself in the upstairs bathroom, and that was where the decision became real. I was tired of being the person everyone expected to stay quiet. I was tired of playing the role of the sad sister who gets betrayed and then told to be mature about it. So the next morning, while Brittany was probably still sleeping like nothing happened, I started making calls. It began with a simple internet search. I searched for Trevor's divorce lawyer. It took me about 15 minutes to find him. James Whitmore. His firm specialized in high-net-worth divorces. His photos looked polished and confident. Dark hair, neat smile, professional posture. Not flashy in a loud way, but the kind of attractive that comes from being sure of yourself. Perfect bait. I called his office and told the receptionist I needed a consultation about a family legal issue. They had an opening that afternoon. His office was in one of those downtown buildings made of glass and steel. Everything looked expensive. The receptionist led me to a conference room with a view of the city. A few minutes later, James walked in. In person, he was taller than I expected. His handshake was firm. He looked like a man who lived in a world of serious decisions. I told him my name. I told him I was Brittany's sister. His face changed just slightly. Not enough for most people to catch, but I did. A professional mask sliding into place. He told me he could not talk about his client's case. I told him I was not there for details. I wanted to hire him for something else. Then I said it clearly. I wanted him to pretend to be my boyfriend. I wanted to introduce him to my family. I wanted to watch what Brittany would do, and I wanted proof my family could not ignore. James leaned back and studied me like he was evaluating whether I was serious or unstable. He said money was not the issue. The issue was ethics. I told him it was not a legal trap. I was not trying to get Brittany arrested. I just wanted her to reveal herself. And then I said something that made his jaw tighten. I told him I had a feeling he might have his own reasons for wanting Brittany exposed. Because he had seen what she did to Trevor. James did not answer right away. Then he asked me about my timeline. That was the moment I knew he was considering it. Over the next 2 weeks, we met several times to plan. James was careful. He asked questions about my family. About Brittany's patterns. About what I wanted to happen after. I told him my goal was simple. I wanted my parents to stop pretending this was normal. I wanted them to stop making excuses. I wanted them to finally protect me, even if it was late. James warned me that once we started, there would be no going back. My relationship with Brittany would not survive this. I told him it already did not exist. I had just been pretending it did. So we started the plan. We became public. Not in an extreme way, but enough that Brittany would notice. I posted casual photos. Coffee dates. Dinner. A concert. Things that made us look like a real couple. My mother called almost immediately, excited and shocked and suddenly very interested in my love life. She insisted we come to Sunday dinner. James picked me up that Sunday evening. He dressed in nice jeans and a simple shirt with a jacket. He looked approachable, like the kind of man my mother would approve of and Brittany would target. As we pulled up to my parents' house, he asked if I was ready. I told him I was not, but we were doing it anyway. My mother opened the door and hugged James like she already loved him. She told him she had heard so much about him, which was funny because I had told her almost nothing. That was my mom's style. Big emotion. Small facts. Inside, my dad was setting the table. Brittany was on the couch with wine like she owned the room. When she looked up and saw James, I watched the shift happen in real time. Her posture straightened. Her eyes sharpened. Her mouth curved into that interested smile. She stood up slowly, smoothing her dress. She introduced herself as the baby sister, like that title alone gave her power. James was polite. Calm. Not too warm. Dinner was exactly what I expected. Brittany positioned herself across from James and performed, laughing at everything. Leaning forward. Touching her hair. Touching her neck. Making sure he watched. My parents did not comment. Either they did not see it, or they refused to. After dinner, my mom insisted we stay for dessert. Brittany volunteered to help in the kitchen, which meant I was alone with James for a few minutes. James quietly said Brittany was already planning her approach. I told him I knew. When Brittany came back with pie, she sat next to James. Her leg brushed his under the table like it was an accident. Her lipstick looked freshly applied. Her hair was down. I excused myself to the bathroom for a few minutes, half as a test, half because my stomach was turning. When I came back, Brittany was showing James something on her phone. Their shoulders were close enough that she could pretend it was normal. We left around 9. In the car, James finally breathed like he had been holding tension all evening. He told me Brittany asked for his number, claiming she wanted to add him to the family group chat. Over the next 3 weeks, Brittany texted James constantly. Memes. Videos. Random questions about restaurants. Movie suggestions. Anything that gave her a reason to message him directly instead of going through me. James saved everything. Screenshots. Timestamps. The full record. We met twice a week in his office to review it and plan the next step. One day, I asked how he knew Brittany's pattern so well. James went quiet and pulled a folder from his desk. During Trevor's divorce, part of his work involved documenting Brittany's cheating. He had interviewed men she had been involved with. He had proof of at least 5 affairs during her marriage. I felt sick reading it. Then I asked the question that had been sitting in my chest for weeks. Why was he really helping me? James told me the truth. Trevor came into his office suicidal. Not dramatic sad. Not temporary heartbreak. Suicidal. Brittany had broken him down so completely that he did not know how to live with it. James helped Trevor fight back legally. And after that, Brittany tried to destroy James too. She filed a complaint claiming he made up evidence. It was false, but it still dragged his name through months of stress. So yes, James had personal reasons. And for the first time, I did not feel guilty about using someone else's anger to protect myself. I had been alone in this for too long. If someone finally wanted to stand beside me, I would not push them away. The final stage of the plan came when we remembered my parents' anniversary party. They were throwing a big celebration. A rented event space overlooking the water. Friends, relatives, a band, open bar, the whole thing. It was the perfect stage. But first, we had to make Brittany feel pressure. Like she was losing her chance. I posted more couple photos. Nothing inappropriate. Just enough to make us look serious. A cozy photo on James's couch. A caption that implied comfort and closeness. My mother called and asked if it was getting serious. I told her maybe. 2 hours later, James received a message from Brittany, commenting on how fast we were moving. James told me she was panicking. When Brittany cannot control something, she escalates. The next day she invited James for coffee. James agreed. He told me afterward that she made her move in person. She started with fake concern. She implied I was unstable. She said I was jealous. She tried to paint herself as the one who really understood our family. Then she touched his leg and suggested that if he ever needed someone who truly understood him, she was available. James shut it down politely, but he told me it confirmed what we already knew. Brittany would try something big at the anniversary party. The weeks leading up to the party felt endless. Brittany increased her effort. More texts. Selfies. Invitations to yoga. One photo that was clearly meant to be provocative, followed by a fake apology claiming she sent it to the wrong person. James saved everything. The night before the party, we met one last time in his office. James asked if I wanted to back out. I said no, but I asked him something I had been afraid to ask. What happens after? Because we had been pretending for almost 2 months. We had spent real time together. We had shared long conversations and quiet moments and planning sessions that felt strangely intimate. I needed to know if he was only doing this out of revenge, or if any part of what we had built was real. James surprised me. He admitted it started as revenge. He saw a chance to expose someone who had harmed his client and threatened his career. But he also said somewhere along the way, it stopped feeling fake. He said he liked me. The real me, not the performance. He asked if, after we finished the plan, we could go on a real first date. No games. No trap. Just us. My chest felt tight. Not because I suddenly believed in fairy tales, but because for the first time in years, someone was choosing me without being tempted by Brittany. I told him yes. The anniversary party was even bigger than I expected. 200 guests. A band. A view of the water that looked like a postcard. James picked me up at 6. I wore a dress I normally would never wear, green and fitted, something that made me feel like I was stepping into my own power instead of shrinking. James told me I looked incredible. And for once, I believed it. We arrived a little late. The party was already loud and alive. I spotted Brittany right away. She was wearing white, which felt like an attention grab on purpose. Tight, low cut, impossible to ignore. She saw us walk in and her face lit up like she had been waiting all night. She hugged me quickly, then hugged James longer. She complimented him. She kept her hands on him a second too long. James stayed calm. We moved through the room. We congratulated my parents. We talked to relatives. We smiled. We played our roles. Brittany kept appearing near James, always in his line of sight, always making sure he noticed her. Around 8, when the band took a break, the crowd started mingling more freely. That is when Brittany made her move. I was talking to my aunt when Brittany approached James. I watched her touch his arm. I watched her lean in close like she was sharing something private. James nodded and followed her toward the balcony. I waited a short moment, then followed. The balcony was dim, overlooking the water. Brittany positioned herself against the railing like she was in a movie scene. James stood a few feet away, calm and steady. I stayed near the doorway at first, listening. Brittany told him she wanted to speak alone. She said she needed to warn him about me. She said I was jealous, manipulative, unstable. She tried to convince him I was not the victim, that I was the problem. James kept his voice neutral and asked questions that made her reveal more. Brittany moved closer. She put her hand on his chest. She told him a man like him deserved better. James asked better like who? Brittany's hand slid higher, and she said someone like her. That was when I stepped into view. Brittany jumped like she got caught stealing. She tried to backpedal instantly, but I did not let her. I told her I understood perfectly what she was doing. I looked at James and told him to say it. James pulled out his phone and asked Brittany if she recognized him. He told her his name. James Whitmore. The lawyer who represented Trevor in her divorce. Brittany's face drained of color so fast it was almost shocking. She looked like the ground had disappeared under her feet. She tried to claim it was impossible. She tried to accuse us of trapping her. James calmly explained that entrapment involves law enforcement. He was just a private person helping someone expose a pattern. I told Brittany we had documented everything. Every text. Every message. Every attempt to undermine me. Every time she tried to pull James away. And then I told her something else. James still had copies of evidence from her divorce. Affairs that never made it into court documents. Proof that could ruin her image if it ever became public. I told her if she ever came near anyone I cared about again, all of it would go public. For the first time in my life, I saw fear in Brittany's eyes. Not fake tears. Not performance. Real fear. Then the balcony door opened behind us. My mother stood there, confused, asking what was going on because people were wondering where we were. I looked at Brittany. This was her last chance to tell the truth. She said nothing. So I told my mother we needed to talk right now with my dad too. We went into a small side room off the main hall. Me, Brittany, James, and my parents. And I laid it all out. I told them about Connor. About the dorm room. About every boyfriend after. About the way Brittany always found a way. About the way I stopped dating because I could not survive another betrayal. I told them about Mark in the garage. I showed them the screenshots. The texts. The proof. My mother cried. My father sat still, his face turning red, like anger and shame were mixing in his chest. Brittany tried to fight back. She said I was jealous. She said I was making it up. She tried to turn it into a story where she was the victim of my cruelty. Then James spoke. He told my parents, clearly and calmly, that Brittany's behavior went far beyond hurting me. He told them about Trevor. He told them Brittany had affairs during her marriage. He told them she tried to financially destroy a good man. He told them she filed false complaints against him professionally. He showed them the folder. My father looked at Brittany and asked if it was true. Brittany could not fully deny it. The silence was heavy, like everyone finally understood how long this had been happening. My mother told Brittany to leave. Brittany looked at me with real tears this time. Not the pretty kind she used when she wanted sympathy, but the ugly kind that comes when someone is finally cornered by truth. She said I destroyed our family. I told her no. She did that herself. I just stopped covering for her. Brittany left, heels clicking down the hallway, the sound echoing like punctuation at the end of a long sentence. After she was gone, my mother took my hand and apologized. She admitted they should have protected me. She admitted they ignored me. She admitted they made excuses because it was easier than facing the truth. My father hugged me later and said he was proud of me for standing up for myself. I told him I wished it did not take this long. When James and I got into the car, I felt tired. Not triumphant. Not joyful. Just tired in my bones, like I had been holding my breath for years and finally exhaled. James asked if I was okay. I told him I did not know. He told me that was normal. That carrying this kind of pain for so long does not disappear in one night. Even if you win. Then he reached over and took my hand, and he told me something that made my chest ache in a different way. He said somewhere in the middle of all this, he started falling for me. Not the version of me who was desperate and scared. The real me. He asked if I wanted to see where that could go. I told him yes, but that I wanted to start with the real first date we talked about. Something normal. Something simple. The next Friday, he picked me up at 7, and we went somewhere nice, and the only goal was getting to know each other without revenge hanging over our heads. And the strange thing was, it felt easy. After the party, things shifted into a new kind of normal. Brittany moved out of my parents' house. She blocked me on social media. My mother told me she started therapy. My parents started therapy too. Family counseling. It was painful. It brought up everything we avoided for years. We talked about how they enabled Brittany. We talked about how they treated me like the one who could handle anything, because I always did. We talked about how that was unfair. It was not a quick fix. Therapy never is. But it was something. James and I kept dating. Real dating. Not pretending. We learned that under all the drama, we actually liked each other. He was smart and funny and steady. He challenged me in ways that made me feel stronger instead of smaller. 3 months after the anniversary party, we made it official. Not because it looked good online. Not because we needed to prove something. Because it felt real. 6 months later, I ran into Trevor in a coffee shop. I was nervous at first, because I did not know what he would think of me dating his divorce lawyer. But Trevor surprised me. He told me he was grateful. He said for years he thought he was crazy, like maybe he imagined how bad things were. Having someone validate the truth helped him more than I could know. We talked for a few minutes, and when we said goodbye, I felt something settle in my chest. Maybe closure. Maybe peace. That evening, my mother called and told me Brittany was moving to Seattle for a job. A fresh start. My mother asked how I felt. I told her the truth. I felt sad, relieved, worried all at once. My mother said Brittany wanted to see me before she left. I told her I would think about it. 2 weeks later, I met Brittany at a coffee shop near her apartment. She looked different. Her hair was shorter. Her face looked older, not because of age, but because something in her had finally been forced to wake up. She told me she had been in therapy. Real therapy, not the kind people do to check a box. She told me she needed to apologize. A real apology, not the fake ones she used to throw at me like crumbs. Then she said something I never expected. She said she was jealous of me. Not because of my looks. Not because of men. Because I was the smart one. The capable one. The one Dad respected. The one who could build a life without needing applause every minute. She said she got attention for being pretty, but that was all she had. And she hated that I could have something she could not steal. So she stole the one thing she could take from me at the time. My boyfriends. My validation. My happiness. She said it made her feel powerful, but it was poison. I sat there listening, and I realized I had imagined this conversation 1,000 times, but I never imagined how numb I would feel when it finally happened. There was no dramatic satisfaction. No instant healing. Just a quiet understanding that we were looking at the wreckage of years. Brittany said she did not expect forgiveness. She just wanted me to know she understood what she did. I told her I hoped Seattle was good for her. I hoped she found what she was looking for. She told me she was happy for me and James. She said I deserved someone good. We finished our coffee mostly in silence. When we stood to leave, she hugged me. It was awkward and brief, but it felt like an ending. Not a perfect ending. Not a reunion. But a closing of a chapter. A year later, James proposed. It was simple. Just the two of us on a beach at sunset. No crowd, no performance. He asked, and I said yes before he finished the question. My parents threw us a small engagement party. Brittany sent a card from Seattle with a check and a short note congratulating me and telling me I deserved happiness. I put the note away. I did not stare at it. I did not overthink it. I just accepted it for what it was. On my wedding day, walking down the aisle toward James, I thought about how insane it was that a revenge plan became the doorway to my real life. It was messy. It was calculated. It was not the kind of story people put on inspirational posters. But it led me to the moment where I finally stood up for myself. It led me to a man who chose me without hesitation. And it led me to a life where my sister's chaos was no longer the center of my world. When James slid the ring onto my finger and kissed me, I realized something simple. I did not regret what I did. Not because revenge feels good forever, but because the truth deserved daylight. And for the first time in my life, I felt free.